Hey, so our studio setup is a bit different today. Our studio setup is there isn't one. Okay, so today, as you can probably hear in the background, we are outdoors. We're taking a walk around the town. It's currently almost about 7 o'clock. With my aunt's birthday coming up, she wants us to get 52 miles in for her 52nd birthday. So your girl ain't running that. And so in order to really get 52 miles in the month of July, walking, you gotta walk. you gotta get a lot of walking in the amount of time that I do have in between the things that I have to do. So I'm out here. Hope I don't sound too out of breath, but we're gonna try to kill all the birds at one time and get out this 70th episode of The Research Her. So firstly, I just want to do a recap of the past 10 episodes because what a journey. We have had such a wide variety of content over these past 10 episodes, and I just want to take the time to acknowledge the women who shared their expertise, their knowledge, their stories with us to help embrace this journey of being research women, science women, women who have gone through these graduate programs, are going through these graduate programs, trying to get into them, and also sharing a lot of knowledge about our bodies, the history of our bodies, and many other topics that we discussed. So let's just start off with episode 60. We had on Ashley Walker, who is an astrochemist, and sis talked to us about her journey of being a girl from the south side of Chicago, trying to start a career in this world of astronomy / chemistry. She's been through trials, she's been through tribulations, and it has been an honor to be a part of her journey and seeing her grow as a scientist and as she pursues grad programs. We're here to support you, sis. So also we had Camille Mosley, who was the winner of the Black Woman in Graduate School Therapy Fund. And if you don't remember, that fund was gathered by The Research Her. We asked for people to put into this bucket of money so that we can help support a Black woman who's in graduate school, who was interested in getting therapy, and she was able to put that towards her therapy every month. And so we helped support Camille through therapy for a couple of months, and that was a beautiful thing to be a part of. Didn't raise as much money as we wanted to. I think we raised somewhere around like $3,000 over the course of a few weeks, but I'm sure it definitely helped Camille, because she is a graduate student. $3,000 goes a long way, especially when your therapist is not covered under your insurance, which was Camille's situation. We also talked a lot about being single this season and settling out of fear of being alone, and what it looks like to be single, and then still trying to balance other people's expectations of you, being single while pursuing a science career. I wanted to share more and get some insight into some of the experiences that women are having. Really, one of the big takeaways for me when I was interviewing women is a lot of the reason why we find any shame and being single Black women are the people around us and not so much our own internal beliefs, because everyone around you tells you need to go in a certain direction, be a certain person. Meanwhile, you minding your business and they won't let you, So that was one of the big takeaways that I got from it. We also talked to Professor Kelly Knight, who is a forensic scientist and overall just badass professor. Our sis does all the things. She's a forensic science professor. She is a graduate student studying in the realm of science education. She's working on her PhD at the moment. She has a whole family. She is a sarcoma survivor, so she shares her experience with chemo with us. And overall, our sis is just bomb. Like, she does it all. She's one of my STEM Noir sisters. I love her so much. If you get a chance, you can check out the conversation with Professor Knight as she shares so many gems, so much of her story with us. What an honor. We also talked to Natasha Duggan, who is a virologist. Natasha shared with us a little bit of knowledge about what a virus is, what a vaccine consists of, why it's beneficial to take a vaccine versus trying to naturally build your immune system. All these things are by choice. Natasha really gives us a nice understanding of what it means when someone administers a vaccine into your body and how they work. So that was a very informative episode. And if you're wanting to know more about vaccines, how they work from one of your great sisters, I recommend you going and checking out that episode. We also talked to Dr. Ariana Stokes. She has been on the podcast before, and her work around digital education and understanding the experiences of professors during this time and their insight into their students using virtual classrooms or virtual education was very interesting to me, because with COVID and social distancing, a lot of classrooms went online. And her research was one of those topics that was very timely. She graduated with her PhD in the midst of COVID-19 while researching online learning, and it was a timely episode. And I appreciate Dr. Stokes for sharing her knowledge. One of my great sis. We go way, way, way back to the 4th grade, I think, 4th or 5th grade. We go back. So it's always an honor and a pleasure to have her on the show. And of course, we had our episode 69. It was actually quite a coincidence that this topic came to mind right around the 69th episode, because our great sis Meg be dropping all the arts, all the music, all the things. We have to support our educated Black queen when she's making noise, okay? So for episode 69, we got into some thought shit, okay? We had an episode that was very much geared towards talking about the autonomy that Black women have over their body, and how there is a history behind this idea of being considered a hoe, and why it is that now more than ever, Black women should be allowed the opportunity to have complete autonomy on their body without the judgment of others. We speak about the policing that's done, horizontal policing, how that impacts women from a young age. We had the expertise of multiple PhDs on that episode, and it was one of the most rewarding things to see that episode come into fruition, because You can ask Dr. Jasmine Abrams. I got to a point where I was having a really hard time connecting the dots, trying to put that episode together because I couldn't see how the storyline was supposed to go. And so that was really a challenging episode to bring together 4 experts into one episode when you had one storyline in your mind, but once you had the interviews, it's like the interviews did not follow the order that I originally wanted them to, just because I asked questions and the responses were very much not what I was expecting. So it was a challenge, but I'll say it really stretched my abilities as a podcaster, as a podcast editor, because I had to figure out how to bring all these things together into one. I want to shout out the podcast master who did the first round of editing. He's my podcast editor, and he did the first round of editing. So he cleaned up those interviews really nicely. So that was one thing I didn't have to go through and do, take out those ums and those hums and awkward pauses and me telling them, hold on, I can't hear you. Can you hold on? Like, let's pause the interview. I can't hear you. And I got to focus on just the content. So shout out to the podcast master. You can check him out on Instagram if you're a podcaster looking to get your podcast edited. And it has been one of those like very relieving things to have someone provide quality podcast editing and take that stress off of me of needing to edit and clean up. So having a trusted person to get those episodes clean and right, that has been so dope for me, because it definitely takes some time off. And as an academic, baby, what don't we have? A lot of it. After he did that cleaning up, I was able to focus on the content and bring it all together, and baby, it turned out to be a masterpiece. And I appreciate the love that everyone showed to that episode, and I hope to keep on continuing to bring you all amazing content in the future. Next thing that is up is I want to give a update on what I got going on over here in these streets. So recently I moved to the suburbs of Dallas. I am probably like 40 minutes out of Dallas. I'm loving it. You hear the birds chirping. I'm out here walking. Ain't nobody bothering me. I did have a little moment where I was walking and somebody was it was a couple and their dog right behind me. So I had to like hurry up and jog. And that's part of the reason why I probably really sound out of breath. No, your girl just out of shape. So even walking, it's taking me out. So let me not even do that. Being honest, no, it was a couple and they were just talking their ass off behind me, so I had to hurry up and skip a corner and try to get away from that. Yeah, I've been walking for a little while. It's definitely an upgrade from West Lafayette, Indiana. So much more food options, specifically those with flavor that is not KFC, Taco Bell, McDonald's. We have a bunch of restaurants in our area. So although we're kind of far from, where our people be, there are still a significant amount of options within like 20 minutes for like hairstylists and nail salons. I have a little garden, have a nice little desk set up. It's been really, oh man, I see. You ever catch the spider web before you jump into it? So I just saw a spider web, so now I'm walking around. Yeah, it has been really dope moving to the Dallas area because I'm 40 minutes away, but I still am able to, do all the things in Dallas. So how was I able to move from Lafayette to Dallas? Did I get a new job? That's often the question that people ask, like, why did you relocate? And no, the job that I have now is the same job that I had when I was in West Lafayette. Before that, I was a postdoc at Purdue University, and I was doing very similar work to what I was doing in grad school, which is lipidomics work, looking at the structures of different classes of lipids and using mass spectrometry for that characterization. But that work was just no longer standing true to my passion. I was becoming more aware of what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to take my chemistry skills and apply them to something that was more, in my idea, more tangible. So I'm a millennial at the end of the day. I need to see some type of impact that I'm making. I know I love working with chemical exposures and understanding those things. So I decided to reach out to an organization called Silent Spring Institute and see if I could get a position there, because the work that they were doing, I couldn't stay away from it. It was one of those, like, every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back. Every time I was reading a paper that they had produced, it's one of those, I just kept wanting to go back to their work, learning more about what they do, learning how I can be a part of it and how I can fit myself in. So I was like, if this is the work that I keep getting attracted to and coming back to, why not reach out to the organization and see if there's any way that I can fit in? So I applied for a position. It ended up all working such that they were in the process of applying for a T32 grant. They hadn't heard back yet, but until then, they were willing to have me come on as a kind of like still as a postdoc, but not under the T32 grant yet. So that being said, I ended up getting a job. So your girl has been employed outside of Purdue for a minute now, and I know I haven't announced it, but I haven't done any really solo episodes or updates in a while. So I love what I do there. So since working for them, I have been a part of writing 2 kind of smaller grants. Writing out those 2 grants has taught me a lot about grant writing. I've also been written into another major grant that I really hope we get. It's a UO1 grant, and I hope that we end up getting that one, because that project sounds so dope. I'll kind of leave that where it's at. So I love my coworkers. I love the experience that I've gotten thus far, and I'll just keep you all updated. Everything is definitely different being in a nonprofit space than the academic space. Oh my goodness, the culture is so different, and maybe we can talk about that in a future episode. My work focuses on chemical exposure assessment. Maybe I could do a separate episode that talks about just my research and telling you all like exactly what I do. One thing I do plan on doing to give you some insight into my field is posting a lot about the field that I'm in and some of the problems we're facing in the field on my social media. I'm proud of myself though, because there was a paper that we were in the works of writing when I left Purdue. And quite honestly, I had gotten to a point where I just had so much going on, and I still could have written the paper, but it would have taken a lot out of me to get that paper out. And honestly, even now to this day, I still am having a hard time connecting with the work that I did while I was at Purdue. So proudly, instead of struggling through and forcing myself to write this paper just so I can get a corresponding authorship, I told the PI of that project, hey, yeah, I know I said I would write this paper, but I just don't have the capacity to. The mental capacity, more so than the time restraints. I just wasn't feeling connected to the work anymore, and it's a blessing to be able to say that once I was no longer connected to the work, I was able to just pass the baton over to a wonderful PI who said he was willing to write it. And so that was an experience that I know a lot of people don't get. People be looking at them you better write that damn paper. But that wasn't mine. I was able to pass it over to him, what I had so far, and he got that handled. That was very dope. That being said, the researcher will be going on a hiatus, a break, don't know what you want to call it, but we'll be back in September with new episodes. I and the team want time to really prep episodes so we can be on a schedule and predict what we will be putting out on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis. It's been kind of whatever I feel like putting out, and in order to expand the team here and really get everyone on the same page, we need a schedule. We need things to be going smoothly. If there are any major updates or anything that time sensitive, you might get a random quick little audio coming up to your speakers. If you want to stay connected with me personally, I am at Alicia PhD on the socials. I am right now in the process of putting out content just about being an academic and in the environmental health, environmental justice space. I want to talk about the products that we use every day, the chemicals that we're exposed to on the regular, where we live, where we work, where we play, really providing resources to understand and be more knowledgeable and more aware of some of the toxins that we're exposed to. And that's where my work kind of lays now. And that's what I'll be doing over there on the socials these days. If you want to connect with the show, with us, our team, we are at The Research Herd on all the socials. We're also at theresearchherd.com. You could join the mailing list. We're going to be still putting out some great content on the social medias, just kind of reminding you of some of our older episodes and thinking, what is it that we should be bringing to you all? Maybe taking surveys to see what topics you're interested in learning more about. Just connect with us there. And all of that said, we'll see you in September. I holla.